Welcome back. All right, so in today's season preview, we're going to take a look at the Washington Capitals. The Washington Capitals are an interesting team. They made the playoffs this past season, and it was kind of ugly how they did it. During the regular season, there were plenty of games where I felt like they were outplayed, but they won. And they played sit-back defense kind of game. They won a lot of one-goal games. If it was a high-scoring game, they lost it, basically, in almost every case, which is unusual for a team with Alex Ovechkin on it. So when we look at this team, we go back to 2014, 2015, right up until now. It will surprise nobody that Ovechkin's the leading scorer for the team over that time period. 747 games, 431 goals, 305 assists, 736 points. So almost a point per game, almost 450 goals over the last 10 years. He's pretty good. Evgeny Kuznetsov, 706 games played, 168 goals, 391 assists, 559 points. John Carlson, 693 games, 118 goals, 422 assists, 540 points. For Nick Backstrom, 610 games played, 144 goals, 395 assists, 539 points. TJ Oshie, who we'll talk about, 567 games, 192 goals, 193 assists, 385 points. Tom Wilson, 672 games played, 143 goals, 177 assists, 320 points. Dmitry Orlov, 567 games played, 54 goals, 171 assists, 225 points. Lars Eller, 488 games played, 87 goals, 121 assists, 208 points. Marcus Johansson, 316 games, 77 goals, 108 assists, 185 points. And Jacob Vrana rounds out the top 10. He's currently on a tryout with Washington. I'm not putting guys on tryouts on the board because they're not actually signed to a contract as of yet. But Vrana, 284 games played, 76 goals, 81 assists, 157 points. In net, over the last 10 years, Braden Holtby, the leader in terms of wins, a record of 222, 91, and 38. Ilya Samsonov, 52, 22, and 8. Vitek Vanacek, 41, 22, and 10. Charlie Lindgren, 38, 27, and 10. And Philip Grubauer, 37, 25, and 8. So looking at this team's performance over the last 5 years, they're 13th in points percentage at .590, goals for per game, 14th at 3.13, goals against, 18th at 3.04. So right around middle of the pack on everything. And that includes the power play, where they're 13th at 20.7%. Their penalty kill's been quite good, 81.4%. That's good for 7th. And again, that's over the last 5 seasons. Now, the numbers for this past season, a little different. 17th in the league at a .555 points percentage, so well below what their average has been over the last 5 years. Their goals for per game, 2.63 goals per game. That was 28th in the National Hockey League. Has to get better this year. Their goals against per game, 3.07, 16th overall. So one thing that the Capitals did was they took the whole goal differential thing that normally decides who does or doesn't make the playoffs, and they tossed it out the window. So we hear that a lot during the regular season. Well, look at goal differential. This team should make it because they got the better goal differential. Caps had a terrible goal differential. Still ended up in the playoffs. Their power play this past season, 18th at 20.6%, so right around the same as their average over the last 5 years. And their penalty kill actually dropped to 19th at 79%. So special teams for the Capitals, it had some good stretches, both the power play and the penalty kill, and it had some lousy ones as well. Again, it feels like Carberry was able to get the most out of this team at exactly the right moments when he needed to. So their scorers over the last season, Dylan Strome, their leading scorer, 82 games, 27 goals, 40 assists, 67 points. Alex Ovechkin had an up and down season, but it was more downs early and better late in the season. So he ends up with 79 games, 31 goals, 34 assists, 65 points. John Carlson, 82 games, 10 goals, 42 assists, 52 points. Tom Wilson, 74 games, 18 goals, 17 assists, 35 points. Anthony Mantha at the time of the trade, 56 games, 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points. Connor McMichael, 80 games, 18 goals, 15 assists, 33 points. Protas played 78 games for the Caps, 6 goals, 23 assists, 29 points. 6 goals isn't enough. I think Protas could do way more than that. Oshie, 52 games, 12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points. Max Pacioretty, there's been a lot of talk about him. We haven't actually seen him get a tryout yet, though. 47 games, 4 goals, 19 assists, 23 points. And I'll also throw out there the Caps have not been rumored to be one of the teams looking at him. Sonny Milano only played 49 games. He had 15 goals, 8 assists, 23 points. Keeping him healthy would definitely help. The top 2 goaltenders this past season, Charlie Lindgren, a record of 25, 16, and 7, 911 save percentage, 6 shutouts. He was fantastic. Darcy Kemper had a rough year, 13, 14, and 3 record, 890 save percentage, 1 shutout. He has now been traded, of course, to Los Angeles Kings. So looking at the rookie situation in Washington, I've got Ivan Miroshnichenko on the board. I don't know how much he's going to play for them, but if he does, there's some potential there. And Andrew Crystal, who may very well be a year or more out, but still, if he gets a chance to make his debut for this lineup this year, maybe he finds a way to stay. So looking at their forwards and looking at this group of players, Alex Ovechkin, Dylan Strome, Tom Wilson, highly likely to be that top line. And after that, it gets interesting because there's a lot of different players here. So Connor McMichael probably on the second line, Pierre-Luc Dubois or PL Dubois, and Andrew Mangiapane. So Dubois having a bounce-back season from what was a miserable season in LA would go a long way, right? Mangiapane, a good pickup from Calgary, coming off of a bit of a down year goal-scoring-wise. We know he can score 30 in a season. I don't know that he gets there with the Caps, but I think they'll be happy with 20 goals or a little bit more than that. And for Dubois, again, if he can get into that 55, 60 point range, get a little higher than this past season, and maybe more, the Caps could definitely use it. Then on the third line, you'd have Sonny Milano, Hendrix Lapierre, and Alexi Protas. And again, I think Protas still has some potential for a little more offense than the 6 goals he had this past season. Brandon Duhaime's been added for the fourth line. Nick Dowd and Taylor Radish brought in as well. Radish probably needed a change of scenery, and we'll see how things work for him in Washington. So looking at their extras, you've got Mike Scarbosa, you've got Ethan Frank. Ethan Frank's a hero for the Hershey Bears, of course, who have won championships back-to-back years. Ivan Miroshnichenko, as previously mentioned, Andrew Crystal as well. Alexander Suzdalev, or Suzdalev. Either way, maybe he makes his debut this season for the Caps. I don't think he's played yet. Pierrick Dubé, Tarek Parasik. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing now. And Spencer Smallman. There's one that I can get. This is going to be interesting to see how many of these guys are playing in the preseason and beyond. And if I do review a preseason game for the Caps, we'll see how it goes. Then we get to the top 6 defensemen. Jacob Chychrun added from the Senators. Chychrun's a good offensive defenseman. Didn't have a fantastic season in Ottawa. He peaked in Arizona. If Washington can get that defenseman, who in Arizona looked absolutely fantastic, if they can get him to play that way here, he could be a huge pickup. John Carlson, Rasmus Sandin, Matt Roy. Matt Roy's contract, I know there's some people who think it's too long or too much money. I like Matt Roy. Throughout his time in LA, I became a bigger and bigger fan of his. Martin Faravari and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Pretty solid top 6. And then for the extras, Ethan Bear went into the NHLPA, NHL Player Assistance Program. And I think he's still in that right now. So all the best to him. He is on the board, though, for the Capitals. Alexander Alexiev, Vincent Iorio, and Chase Prisky. So there's some depth here. And again, if Bear can come back and play for these guys, that'd be great. But I think the blue line's pretty good. In net, they've got Charlie Lindgren, and they get Logan Thompson from Vegas. I think Thompson's an absolute steal for them. And I think that was a solid move on their part. Going from Kemper to Thompson, we should see the numbers get better. And Lindgren, I think, playing about half the games works really well. You don't have to worry about a goaltender getting tired out. And Logan Thompson, we know what he can do. I'm really kind of surprised that he ended up in Washington. But I think it's a good move for the Caps. And then for your extras, you got Hunter Shepard, who I'd love to see get a shot at an NHL job. I don't think it's going to happen. And Clay Stevenson, who's the younger of the 2 goalies, I do believe. I think it's by a few years as well. But Stevenson may very well be the next goaltender the Caps have that graduates to the NHL level. Cap space, there will be cap space. So Nick Backstrom will be going back on LTIR. That's the idea. And TJ Oshie has already announced he's going to miss this upcoming season. And then you get into the question mark of whether or not, if Oshie misses this season, Will he miss next season as well? We haven't heard a retirement announcement from Oshie, but is that going to happen at some point soon? We shall see. So the schedule in October, 6 out of 9 games are at home. In November, 8 out of 15 are on the road, so it's a busy November. In February, so as we get to the Four Nations Cup here, 2 at home, 1 away, 1 at home. Then we have the Four Nations Cup, 1 away from home, and 3 at home to round out the month of February. In April, they have 6 out of 9 games on the road. So being able to finish strong on the road may very well decide whether or not these guys are in the playoffs or not. I don't think that the Capitals are going to be a top 3 team. I think they're going to be in contention for a wild card spot. Do we see them in or not? We'll see. So looking at the Stanley Cup odds, the odds makers, the people gambling on this don't like the Caps much. Plus 7,000 for the Capitals. Pretty long odds for a Stanley Cup. The channel vote, 2% said the Capitals set first or second in the division. 21% said third or fourth, so that's a little higher than a couple of other teams we've been talking about. 54% say fifth or sixth, and 24% say seventh or eighth. So 78% of the vote, and I know it adds up to 101% all overall, because that's how percentages go, but 78% of the vote saying fifth or lower in the division, which was the expectation last season as well, and then they defied expectations. So I guess the question I have for Caps fans watching and for hockey fans in general is, are the Caps going to be able to defy expectations again? Are they going to end up above the playoff line? Do these additions make sure that they do stay above the playoff line, or will they struggle to score goals again? Let me know your thoughts regarding the Washington Capitals in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. I did answer one comment too in one of the recent videos I did of this nature. I don't give my opinion on where everybody's going to finish in the NHL anymore. I didn't last season either. And I stopped doing that because when I would give my prediction on where I felt teams were going to finish, that became the dominant thing in the comment section about who I hated and, oh, you favor this and all. And I felt like the preview should really be about the team, and you guys should be driving the conversation as to where you think guys are going to finish. That's the reason why just the channel vote is featured on the board at this point. I will talk about where I think teams are going to finish between now and the start of the season, but for now, I think this is fine. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.